The great hall of the Galactic Assembly was filled with worried voices. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections, speaking all at once. The translator devices struggled to keep up with the chaos. Taiyang sat quietly in the human section. He wore a simple gray suit, nothing fancy. His dark eyes watched the other ambassadors argue and shout. Next to him, Nari tapped something on her datapad. She looked calm, but Taiyang knew she was taking notes on everything. "The Hezron must be stopped," shouted Ambassador Kelvin from the Drexer Union. His blue skin turned darker when he was angry. "They destroyed our mining colony on Theta 7. 3,000 civilians are dead." "The Drexer are not alone," said another voice. This one belonged to a tall, thin creature with 4 arms. "The Hezron attacked our supply ships last month. They took everything and left our people to die in space." Council Prime Athara raised one of her long, silvery hands. The ancient Velshari leader had seen 1,000 years pass. Her voice was soft, but everyone listened. "We hear your pain. We understand your fear. But what can we do? The Hezron Empire is strong. They have more warships than any 3 species combined." That was the truth everyone knew, but nobody wanted to say out loud. The Hezron were brutal and powerful. Their leader, Veltrax, was a warlord who believed strength was the only thing that mattered. For the past 5 years, he had been taking territory from weaker species. The Galactic Assembly could do nothing but watch. "We could form a defensive alliance," suggested someone. "With what ships?" Another replied, "Most of us have merchant vessels, not warships." "What about the humans?" asked Kelvin. He turned to look at Taiyang. "They have been members of this assembly for 47 years. What do they say?" All eyes turned to the human section. Taiyang felt the weight of their stares. Some looked hopeful. Others looked doubtful. Many looked at humans like they were children pretending to sit at the adult table. Taiyang stood up slowly. "Humanity hears your concerns," he said. His voice was steady and diplomatic. "We are monitoring the situation closely." "Monitoring?" Kelvin's voice was sharp with frustration. "Your species talks about peace and cooperation. But when evil shows its face, you just watch?" Taiyang did not react to the anger. "We believe in careful consideration before action. Rushing into war without preparation helps no one." "Careful consideration," muttered someone in the back. "The humans are afraid to fight." Nari's hand tightened on her datapad, but her face showed nothing. She had heard these words before. Many species thought humans were weak. They saw humanity's focus on diplomacy as cowardice. They did not understand that the debate continued for hours. The assembly voted on sanctions against the Hezron Empire. The vote passed, but everyone knew it meant nothing. Veltrax would laugh at their sanctions. After the session ended, Taiyang and Nari walked through the quiet corridors. "They think we are weak," Nari said softly. "I know," Taiyang replied. "Should we tell them the truth?" "Not yet. The time will come," Nari nodded. She thought about the classified reports sitting in her secure files. Reports about humanity's activities in their border territories. The galaxy thought humans were building farming colonies and research stations. They had no idea what humanity was really building. 3 days later, the emergency session was called. The Hezron had struck again. This time, they destroyed an entire planet's orbital defenses. The planet surrendered without fighting. Its people were now slaves to the Hezron Empire. But that was not why the emergency session was called. The transmission came directly from Veltrax himself. His face appeared on the giant screen in the assembly hall. He looked like a reptile mixed with a bear, covered in dark scales and battle scars. His eyes were yellow and cold. "Weak creatures of the assembly," Veltrax said with a cruel smile. "You talk and talk, but you do nothing." Today, I give humanity a choice. You have been expanding near our territory. Your colonies are in systems we want. Taiyang felt his heart beat faster, but his face remained calm. I am generous, Veltrax continued. I give you one option. Abandon your colonies in the border systems. Leave everything behind. Do this, and I will let your people live. Refuse, and my fleets will turn your worlds to ash. You have 48 hours to decide. The transmission ended. The hall was silent. Everyone looked at Taiyang again. This time, their eyes held a different question. What would humanity do? Would they surrender like the others? Would they fight and be destroyed? Taiyang stood up. Humanity requests 48 hours to consult with our government on Earth. We will return with our answer. You should surrender, Kelvin said quietly. I do not wish to see another species destroyed. The Hezron cannot be beaten. Taiyang looked at the Drexler ambassador. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something that made Kelvin lean back in his seat. We will return with our answer, Taiyang repeated as they left the assembly. Nari sent an encrypted message back to Earth. Just 3 words. The time comes. On Earth. In a secure bunker deep underground, Fleet Admiral Delhune read the message. He had been waiting for this moment. They all had been waiting. He pressed a button on his console. Across human space, silent alarms began to sound. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields powered up their engines. Bases hidden on dark moons activated their systems. Soldiers who had trained for years received their orders. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. It thought humans were peaceful farmers and philosophers. It thought they were weak. The galaxy was about to learn the truth. Doyun looked at the tactical display, showing the Hezron Empire's territory. He smiled, but there was no humor in it. 48 hours, he said to himself. That is more time than we need. Suman stood in the observation deck of Shipyard, Delta 9. She watched as the last pieces of armor plating were attached to the warship below. The vessel was beautiful in a deadly way. Sleek, dark, and covered in weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. How many are ready? Asked a voice behind her. She turned to see Fleet Admiral Doyen. The old soldier looked tired. He had not slept much in the past week. 1,200 warships are fully operational, Sumin reported. Another 300 will be ready within 24 hours. Dohyun nodded slowly. The Hezron are bringing 300 ships. They think that is enough to scare us. It would be enough to scare anyone else, Sumin said. No single species has ever fielded more than 400 warships at once. We are not like other species, Dohyun replied. That was the truth. While other species had been building trade ships and exploring peacefully, humanity had been preparing. They remembered their own history too well. They remembered what happened when good people were not ready to fight evil. Never again, they had promised themselves. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Across human space, the preparations had been going on for decades. Every farming colony had underground bunkers filled with weapons. Every research station had hidden missile batteries. Every commercial shipyard could produce warships. The galaxy had been fooled completely. They thought they knew humanity. They were wrong. Commander Jiwan checked his equipment one last time. Around him, 50 other soldiers did the same. They were special forces, the best of the best. They wore black armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. Mission brief, Jiwan said to his team. The Hezron attack fleet will arrive at Horizon Gate in 6 hours. They expect to find frightened colonists. Instead, they will find us. But before the battle starts, we need to blind them. He brought up a hologram. It showed a Hezron command ship, massive and ugly. This ship is the fleet's brain. It coordinates all their movements. We are going to board it and shut it down. Questions? Nobody spoke. They had trained for this moment for years. Good. We move in 4 hours. 48 hours after Veltrax's ultimatum, Taiyang returned to the Galactic Assembly. The hall was packed. Everyone wanted to hear humanity's answer. Would they surrender, or would they foolishly fight? Taiyang walked to the human section. He looked the same as always. Calm. Diplomatic. He waited for silence, then spoke. The Hezron Empire has demanded we abandon our colonies. They have threatened to destroy our people if we refuse. He paused. Humanity's answer is simple. No. The hall erupted in shocked voices. You will be destroyed. Someone shouted. This is suicide. Said another Council Prime Uthera raised her hand for silence. Ambassador Taiyang, we respect your courage. But courage without strength is just death. The Hezron fleet is already moving toward your territory. They will arrive within hours. We know, Taiyang said. We are ready. At Horizon Gate, the Hezron fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 300 warships appeared in perfect formation. They were huge vessels, built for intimidation and destruction. Each one was covered in weapons. On the bridge of the lead ship, Commander Rexel laughed. Look at this. The humans have one small station and a few cargo ships. This will be over in minutes. Sir, said a sensor officer, I am detecting something strange. What? There are ships nearby, but they are not showing on our scanners properly. The readings keep disappearing. Rexel frowned. Probably just scanner ghosts. These humans are not warriors. They have no stealth technology. He was wrong. At that moment, Jiwan and his team were already inside the Hezron command ship. They had attached their boarding craft to the hull 2 hours earlier, cutting through the armor silently. Now they moved through the corridors like shadows. Charges placed, whispered one of his soldiers. Good, Jiwan replied. 30 seconds. Back at Horizon Gate, Rexel was about to give the order to attack when his entire command system went dark. Every screen turned black. Communications died. The tactical display disappeared. What is happening? He roared. I do not know, sir. All systems are. The officer never finished. Outside the ship, space itself seemed to shimmer. Then it was full of ships. 1,200 human warships appeared at once, dropping their stealth fields. They had been there all along, waiting in silence. Impossible, Rexel whispered. The human ships were smaller than the Hezron vessels, but there were so many of them. They moved in patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully coordinated. The Hezron battle computers could not predict their movements. Admiral Dahyun sat in his command chair aboard the flagship Indomitable. Captain Yuna stood beside him, watching the tactical display. All ships report ready, Yuna said. Then let us teach the Hezron a lesson, Dahyun replied. Fire. The human fleet opened fire all at once. The weapons they used were new. Railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles that could think for themselves and dodge defenses. Energy beams that cut through armor like paper. The Hezron tried to fight back, but they were blind and confused. Their command ship was dark. Their formation was broken. Human ships were everywhere, moving too fast, hitting too hard. In the assembly hall, everyone watched the battle on the main screen. The feed came from a monitoring satellite. They saw the Hezron fleet, so confident and strong just moments ago, being torn apart. By the old gods, Kelvin whispered. Where did they get those ships? Nari, sitting next to Taiyang, allowed herself a small smile. We have been building them for 47 years. Since the day we joined this assembly. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the Hezron attack fleet was destroyed. Not damaged. Not scattered. Destroyed completely. Human casualties. 17 ships damaged, none destroyed. 43 personnel killed in action. Hezron casualties. 300 ships destroyed. 50,000 personnel dead. G1 and his team escaped the command ship just before it exploded. Their small stealth craft slipped away unnoticed. On the Hezron homeworld, Veltrax received the reports. He read them 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. "This cannot be correct," he said. 300 ships destroyed by these weak humans? "The reports are verified, Lord Veltrax," said his advisor. "The humans have been hiding their true strength. They have more ships than we estimated. Much more." Veltrax crushed the datapad in his hand. "Then we send more ships." "Send everything? We will crush these insects." But deep down, for the first time in his life, Veltrax felt something he had never felt before. Fear. In the assembly hall, nobody spoke. They all stared at the screen showing the wreckage of the Hezron fleet. Finally, Council Prime Uthra turned to look at Taiyang. "It seems we did not know humanity as well as we thought." "No," Taiyang agreed quietly. "You did not." Hambin pulled his fighter into a tight spiral, avoiding 3 enemy missiles at once. His hands moved across the controls without thinking. After 10,000 hours of training, flying was like breathing. "Ghost Leader, you have 2 on your tail," said a voice in his helmet. "I see them," Hambin replied calmly. He cut his engines completely, letting his fighter drift. The 2 Hezron ships shot past him, confused. Before they could turn around, Hambin's wingmate destroyed them both. "Thanks for the assist," Hambin said. "Anytime, Ghost Leader." Ghost Squadron was humanity's elite fighter unit. 12 pilots who flew like they shared one mind. The Hezron battle computers could not predict them because they did not fly by logic. They flew by instinct and creativity. Below them, the battle for Supply Station Krevix was almost over. The Hezron had used this station to fuel their war fleets. Now it was burning. Admiral Do-Hyun had made a decision after the victory at Horizon Gate. Humanity would not wait for the next attack. They would not defend their borders and hope the enemy got tired. No. Humanity would attack. "The best defense is to eliminate the threat completely," Do-Hyun had told his officers. "We end this war by making it impossible for the Hezron to fight." So human fleets struck everywhere at once. They hit supply lines, destroying the cargo ships that fed the Hezron war machine. They hit shipyards, blowing up the facilities where new warships were built. They hit command centers, killing the officers who planned the invasions. The Hezron Empire had been the hunter. Now they were the prey. On the medical ship Mercy, Dr. Haijin worked in the surgery bay. Her patient was a Hezron soldier, badly burned when his ship was destroyed. He would live, thanks to her skill. "Why you save me?" the soldier asked weakly. "We are enemies." Haijin looked at him. "You were an enemy when you held a weapon. Now you're just a person who needs help. That is different." The soldier did not understand. The Hezron did not show mercy. They did not heal their enemies. But humans were strange that way. They could be ruthless in battle, then kind in victory. Across the galaxy, another kind of battle was happening. Minji sat in a small room filled with broadcasting equipment. She spoke into a microphone, and her words were transmitted to every world the Hezron had conquered. "People of the occupied worlds," she said in a dozen different languages. "You have been slaves long enough. The Hezron are weak now. Their fleets are burning. Their supply lines are broken. Rise up, fight back. Humanity is coming, and we will help you be free." Her words had power. On 17 different planets, rebellions began. The conquered species had been waiting for hope. Now they had it. The Hezron Empire was burning from within and without. Veltrax sat in his war room, staring at the tactical display. Red marks showed where his forces had been destroyed. There were so many red marks. Too many. My lord, said his advisor carefully. Perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans might accept. Never. Veltrax roared. He grabbed the advisor and threw him against the wall. We are the Hezron. We do not negotiate with prey. We do not surrender. But fear had taken root in his heart. How had this happened? The humans had seemed so weak, so peaceful. Where had these fleets come from? How had they built all this in secret? Send word to all battle groups, Veltrax commanded. Pull back to the core territories. We will make our stand there. It was the first time the Hezron had retreated. The galaxy noticed that in the Galactic Assembly, the mood had changed completely. Species that had ignored humanity now wanted defensive pacts. Others offered to send their own ships to help. Thank you, Taiyang said politely. But this is humanity's war to finish. Some species were relieved. Others were confused. One ambassador asked a question many were thinking. What do you want? You could demand tribute from us. You could take territory. You have shown you have the strength. Taiyang looked at him steadily. We want what we have always wanted. Peace. The freedom for all species to live without fear. Nothing more. But you have power now. Power changes everything. Power reveals what was always there, Taiyang replied. We built these fleets to protect ourselves. We use them to protect others. That has not changed. But power did change things, whether Taiyang admitted it or not. Other aggressive empires in the galaxy had been watching. They had plans to expand their own territories. Now they reconsidered. If the mighty Hezron could be destroyed so quickly, what chance did anyone else have? The galaxy was learning a new equation. Humanity plus provocation equals total destruction of the threat. 6 weeks into the war, Veltrax made a desperate decision. He had one weapon left, one final card to play. The Planet Killer. It was an ancient device, banned by galactic law. A weapon that could destroy an entire world. If I cannot win, then I will make them suffer, Veltrax said. Target the human colony on New Terra. 2 million civilians live there. We will turn their world to dust. His officers hesitated. Using the Planet Killer would make them monsters in the eyes of the galaxy. They would be hunted forever. Do it, Veltrax screamed. Or I will kill you myself. The weapon was prepared. The targeting coordinates were set. But before the order could be given, an encrypted message reached Veltrax's personal terminal. It was from Taiyang. We know about the Planet Killer. We know you are targeting New Terra. If you fire that weapon, your homeworld will burn. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. We have placed weapons throughout your system. They are aimed at your planet right now. Fire, and we fire. Your choice. Veltrax pulled up his own tactical display. He ran every scan he had. It took 15 minutes to find them. Small human devices, hidden in the debris fields around his homeworld. There were hundreds of them. Each one carried enough explosives to devastate a continent. How? He whispered. How did they get these here without us knowing? Nobody had an answer. The humans had infiltrated the most protected system in the Hezron Empire. They had done it silently, perfectly. And now they held a knife to the throat of his entire species. For the first time, Veltrax understood. These humans did not just have ships and weapons. They had patience. They had planning. They had been preparing for war while everyone thought they were weak. The galaxy had underestimated them completely. Veltrax stared at the message for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Stand down the Planet Killer. My lord? An officer asked, shocked. Stand it down. Now. But he was not ready to surrender. Not yet. The Hezron still had their core fleet. Over 2,000 warships, gathered at the homeworld for a final defense. If the humans wanted his empire, they would have to come and take it, and Veltrax would make them pay for every inch. Sungmin walked through the command center, reviewing reports. As the ethics advisor to the military, his job was difficult. He had to make sure humanity won the war without losing its soul. "Admiral Doyen," he said, approaching the fleet commander, "I need to discuss the proposed strike on Hezron City." Doyen looked up from his tactical display. He looked older than he had 3 months ago. War aged everyone. "What is your concern?" "The plan calls for orbital bombardment of the entire city. Intelligence says there are military targets there, but also 3 million civilians." "I know." Dahyun's voice was heavy. "Some of your officers are calling for total destruction of the Hezron homeworld. They say it is the only way to be sure the threat is ended forever. I know that too." Sungmin sat down. "Sir, we are winning. The question now is what kind of people we will be when we win. Do we become exactly what we are fighting against?" Captain Yuna had been listening. She stepped forward. "With respect, Sungmin, the Hezron have killed millions. They have enslaved entire species. They threaten to destroy our colonies. Why should we show them mercy?" "Because," Sungmin said quietly, "mercy is not about what they deserve. It is about who we are." The debate raged in the human command. Some wanted total victory, complete annihilation of the Hezron military capacity. Others wanted vengeance for the attacks on human colonies. A few, like Sungmin, argued for restraint. On her ship, Yuna faced her own moral crisis. Her fleet had surrounded the last Hezron fortress, a massive station called Blackrock. Inside were 10,000 Hezron soldiers and, according to intelligence, 5,000 civilian workers. "We can destroy it in one strike," her tactical officer said. "End this right now." Yuna looked at the station on her screen. 15,000 lives. Most were enemies who would kill her people without hesitation. But some were just workers, trying to survive. "Hold position," she ordered. "Send them a message. They have 1 hour to surrender or we attack." Across the fleet, another conversation was happening. Yoonji, a xenanthropologist, had been studying the Hezron culture for months. What she found troubled her. She requested a meeting with Admiral Do-yoon. "Sir, I have discovered something important about the Hezron," she said. 2,000 years ago, they were nearly destroyed by another species, an ancient enemy that killed 90% of their population. The survivors became warriors, obsessed with strength, because they never wanted to be victims again. Dahan listened carefully. "They are not evil by nature," Yoonji continued. "They are afraid. Their entire culture is built on fear and the belief that only the strong survive. Violence became their religion." "Are you saying we should forgive them?" Do-hyun asked. "No, sir. But I am saying we should understand them. If we just destroy them, the cycle continues. Someone else will rise up, afraid and angry. But if we can break the cycle..." It was a difficult idea. The Hezron had caused so much suffering. But Yoonji had a point. Vengeance felt good, but it did not create peace. Do-hyun called a meeting of all senior commanders. The debate lasted for hours. Finally, a decision was made. Humanity would offer terms: complete demilitarization, reparations to the conquered species, and a provisional government overseen by the Galactic Assembly. The message was sent to Veltrax, on the Hezron homeworld. Veltrax read the terms. Around him, his officers waited for his response. He could surrender, save his people, or he could fight to the last ship and take as many enemies with him as possible. "No," he said finally. "We are Hezron. We do not surrender to anyone." "But my lord, they are offering us a chance to." I said no. Veltrax's eyes blazed with anger and pride. "Prepare the planet killer. If we are to fall, We will not fall alone. Target the refugee colony at Sanctuary Station. 5 million beings live there. We will show these humans that we cannot be defeated. It was madness. Pure, destructive madness. But Veltrax had lost everything. His empire was gone. His fleets were destroyed. All he had left was his pride. The planet killer began charging its weapon. It would take 6 hours to reach full power. G1 received the emergency orders 40 minutes later. His Special Forces team was already in position near the Hezron command center. They had been waiting for this possibility. Mission is active, he told his team. Veltrax is preparing to use the planet killer on Sanctuary Station. We have 5 hours to stop him. Rules of engagement? Asked his second-in-command. G1's voice was cold. Veltrax and his command staff are to be eliminated. Precision strikes only. No civilian casualties, if possible. But the mission must succeed. Millions of lives depend on us. The team moved through the Hezron capital city like ghosts. Their stealth suits made them nearly invisible. They had studied the layout of the command center for weeks. Every guard position, every security measure, every possible route. Above the planet, Yuna's fleet waited. If G1 failed, they would have to destroy the entire command center from orbit. The blast would kill thousands inside the command center. Veltrax watched the countdown. 4 hours until the weapon was ready. He smiled. The humans thought they had won. They would learn that the Hezron could not be humiliated. He never saw G1 enter the room. The first shot was perfectly placed, hitting Veltrax in the head. He died instantly. The officers around him fell within seconds, each shot precise and lethal. The entire operation took 90 seconds. G1 and his team were gone before the alarms even sounded. With the command staff dead, the planet killer automatically shut down. Its safety protocols prevented it from firing without authorization codes. Admiral Dohyun received the report. Veltrax is dead. The planet killer is offline. Sanctuary Station is safe. He felt relief, but also weariness. So much death. So much destruction. And for what? Because one species believed strength was everything. Sir, said his communications officer, the Hezron military is requesting to speak with you. They want to discuss surrender terms. Without Veltrax, the Hezron military collapsed. The officers who remained realized the truth. They had lost. Continuing to fight would only kill more of their people. The surrender was signed 3 days later. The Hezron would demilitarize completely. They would pay reparations. A provisional government would be established, with representatives from multiple species to ensure fairness. But humanity did something that surprised the galaxy. They did not destroy the Hezron homeworld. They did not enslave the population. Instead, they sent aid, medical supplies, food, engineers to help rebuild. Captain Yuna walked through the streets of a Hezron city. People watched her with fear and confusion. She was the enemy, yet she was helping them. A young Hezron child approached her carefully. Why are you helping us? We tried to kill you. Yuna knelt down to the child's level. Because the war is over. Now we build peace. The child did not understand, but Yuna knew that someday they would. Peace was not built in a day. It took time, patience, and the willingness to break the cycles of hatred. In the Galactic Assembly, the mood had shifted completely. Humanity had shown two faces, the warrior and the peacemaker. They could destroy with terrifying efficiency, but they could also show restraint and mercy. Other aggressive species took note. Humanity would fight if provoked. They would win if they fought. But they would also show mercy if given the chance. The galaxy's understanding of humanity had changed forever. 3 years had passed since the war ended. Taiyang stood in the reformed Galactic Assembly Hall, looking at the new council chamber. It was bigger now, with seats for 70 species. The old power structures had changed. Humanity held a permanent seat on the High Council. Nobody had argued against it. They had earned their place with blood and sacrifice. Nari walked up beside him. She wore a different uniform now. She was no longer just an intelligence officer. She commanded the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, a multi-species military organization designed to prevent future wars. "Do you ever think about how fast everything changed?" Nari asked. Taiyang nodded. 3 years ago, they thought we were weak. Now they ask us to solve every problem. "Be careful what you wish for," Nari said with a small smile. The peacekeeping force was a strange thing. It included soldiers from 30 different species, all training together, learning from each other. The human officers taught tactics and strategy. In return, humans learned from other species about diplomacy, culture, and different ways of thinking. Hambin had become an instructor at the pilot academy. Young pilots from across the galaxy came to learn from Ghost Squadron. It was odd, teaching yesterday's enemies how to fight. But Hambin believed in it. "The next war will not be between us," he told his students. "So we must prepare together for whatever comes." He did not know how soon those words would prove true. On the occupied Hezron worlds, the transformation was slow but steady. The provisional government was working. Representatives from the Hezron people worked alongside advisors from other species, building a new society. Dr. Hygiene ran a hospital on the Hezron homeworld now. She trained Hezron doctors in human medical techniques. Many of her patients were veterans from both sides of the war, learning to live with their injuries. "You saved my life during the war," one Hezron veteran said to her. "I was your enemy, but you treated me anyway." "I did not understand then. I think I do now. What do you understand?" Hyjin asked. "That strength is not just about fighting. It is also about choosing not to fight when you could." Hyjin smiled. It was a small moment, but these small moments were building something new. A generation of Hezron who understood that there were other ways to be strong. The younger, Hezron especially, were different from their parents. They had seen their empire fall. They had seen humanity's power, but they had also seen humanity's mercy. It confused them at first, but slowly they began to build a new identity. Engineer Suman's work had changed too. She now shared human technology with other species. The advances humanity had made were being spread across the galaxy, raising the technological level of everyone. Some human leaders worried about this. "If we share our advantages, we lose our edge," they said. But Suman disagreed. "A rising tide lifts all boats. If everyone is stronger, everyone is safer." Not everyone agreed with the new order. Some species resented humanity's influence. Others feared it. But nobody could deny that the galaxy was more peaceful now than it had been in centuries. Aggressive empires had learned their lesson. 3 smaller conflicts had been stopped before they became wars, simply because humanity had offered to mediate. The implied threat was clear. Start a war, and humanity will end it. Admiral Dohin had retired from active command. He spent his days teaching at the War College, sharing the lessons he had learned. His lectures were attended by officers from dozens of species. "War is easy to start and hard to end," he told his students. "The true test of a warrior is not how well they fight, but whether they know when to stop fighting." He thought the galaxy might have decades of peace now. He was wrong. The warning came from a deep space monitoring station at the edge of galactic space. Strange readings. Ships appearing from nowhere. Technology that did not match any known species. Yunji was called to analyze the data. What she found made her blood run cold. She remembered her research on the Hezron, the ancient enemy that had nearly destroyed them 2,000 years ago. This was them. They were back. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly was tense. The scout reports were clear. A massive fleet was approaching from outside the galaxy. Thousands of ships, maybe more. Their technology was advanced. Their intentions were unknown, but the energy readings suggested weapons of enormous power. "Who are they?" demanded one ambassador. Yunji stood to speak. "We believe they are the Devourers." That is what the ancient Hezron records called them. A species that travels between galaxies, consuming resources and destroying civilizations. The hall fell silent. 2,000 years ago, they came to this galaxy. They destroyed the Hezron Empire, taking 90% of their population. Then they left, moving to the next galaxy. Now they have returned. "How many ships?" asked Council Prime Uthera. "Current estimates suggest 20,000 warships. Possibly more." The number was staggering. Even with all the species working together, the galaxy had maybe 8,000 warships total, and most were not as advanced as human vessels. "We cannot fight this," someone said. "We should try to negotiate." "The records say they do not negotiate," Yunji replied. "They simply take what they want." All eyes turned to the human delegation. To Taiyang, to Nari, to Admiral Doyen, who had come out of retirement for this session. "What do you say?" asked Uthera. "Can this threat be stopped?" Dahyun stood slowly. He looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. He thought about everything humanity had built, everything they had sacrificed for, the peace they had finally achieved. Alone? "No species could stop this," he said. "But we are not alone anymore." He turned to face the assembly. "The Hezron War taught us something. It taught us that working together, we are stronger than anyone expected. Humans built the ships. Other species provided resources, intelligence, support. Together, we won." "That was one empire," argued an ambassador. "This is something much bigger." "Yes," Dayan agreed. "Which is why we need everyone. Every ship, every species, every idea. We pool our knowledge, our technology, our courage. We stand together, or we fall separately." Nari added, "The peacekeeping force already has soldiers from 30 species. They train together. They trust each other. That is our foundation. We build on it." Taiyang spoke last. 3 years ago, humanity stood alone against the Hezron. The galaxy learned what we could do when we had to protect ourselves. Now let the galaxy learn what we can do when we protect each other. The vote was not even close. Every species agreed to the alliance. Every ship would join the defense fleet. Every scientist would share their knowledge. Over the next 6 weeks, the greatest military force in galactic history was assembled. Human warships formed the core, but they were joined by vessels from 70 species. Engineers from a dozen races worked together to retrofit ships with better weapons and defenses. Hanbin trained new squadrons of pilots. Jiwan formed mixed special forces teams. Haijin organized medical corps from multiple species. Sumin designed new weapons by combining human technology with alien innovations. Things humanity had never thought of. Things that might give them a chance. On the flagship of the coalition fleet, Admiral Do-hyun looked at his command staff. Humans, Hezron, Drexer, Velshari. Former enemies and former strangers, now comrades. "We do not know if we can win this battle," he told them honestly. "But I know this. We will fight it together. And that makes all the difference." The Devourer fleet was still weeks away. The galaxy was preparing, training, building, hoping. Taeyang and Nari stood together, watching the coalition fleet assemble in space. Ship after ship joined the formation. A beautiful, terrible sight. "Do you think we have a chance?" Nari asked quietly. "I think we have something the Devourers do not expect," Taiyang replied. "They see us as separate species, fighting each other. They do not understand that we have become something new. something united. And if that is not enough, Taiyang looked at his old friend. Then we will fall fighting for something worth dying for. The right of all species to exist. To be free. To have hope. Nari nodded. She looked at the gathering fleet. At the ships from species that had been at war just years ago, now flying side by side. At the soldiers who had been enemies, now training together. The galaxy quaked when humanity entered the war against the Hezron, she said. We put an end to all doubt about our strength. Yes, Taiyang agreed. And now the galaxy will shake again. But this time, all of us shake it together. In the distance, the stars waited. The enemy was coming. But so was something they had never faced before. A galaxy that had learned to stand as one. The war was coming. But this time, humanity would not fight alone. And that, Taiyang thought as he watched the fleet grow larger, might just make all the difference.